Alright, welcome to another video from Unit 4, solving systems of equations. Now we have not yet hit systems, we're just looking at all the different individual equations we can get, and then soon we will do systems where we're solving for two equations at the same time. Alright, so the left side I have an equation that is similar to 4-4 letter E, and the one on the right is exactly letter D from 4-4. Alright, so I'm going to help you with 4-4E, this is one that looks like it, and then you have to apply it to the one in the book. Alright. And where was I? Okay, so now we're solving an equation here on the left that is called a rational equation, just like your rational functions. What we do here is still find a lowest common denominator. And just like whenever we're adding or subtracting, we'll still find that lowest common denominator. We'll use that differently here, as you'll see in a second. So let's take a look at the denominators. We look at the first one, 6 over v, and that means we're at least going to have a v in the denominator. Then we look at the second one, it's v squared, which means it's v times v. We already have one v, which means we'll need a second v. So remember, lowest common denominator, the thing that both denominators can go into. So the LCD will be v squared, which means v cannot be equal to 0, our excluded value. Yay, that's still there. And now what we do with that LCD is we take the original equation and we multiply the entire thing by that lowest common denominator. So you're going to take v squared, multiply it to 6v, then you're going to multiply it by 1 over v squared, and then you're going to take it and multiply it to the 4 over v squared. So there's 3 terms, you're going to multiply it 3 times. And what will happen here is, see the 3 places we multiply it, we bring it to each one. You distribute it to all 3 of them. What happens is you take the 6v squared, or 6 times v squared, you get 6v squared. You do v squared times 1 and you still get v squared. And then you get v squared times 4 and you get 4v squared. So now you have this new equation. And looking at it closely, you'll notice that there's lots that you can cancel. In the first term, the v squared and the v will cancel, and all you're left with is v. In the second one, v squared over v squared, that will all cancel. And in the third one, v squared over v squared, that will also cancel as well. You'll be left with 6 times v minus 1, because v squared divided by v squared will be 1. And then in the last term, the v squareds cancel to be 1, but you have 4 there, so 4 times 1 is 4. And now you have a nice equation where there are no fractions. So you're manipulating this to be a normal equation that doesn't have any fractions in it. So now we just do what we normally do, solve for that v, so we have to move the minus 1 and the 6 over to the other side. So we add the 1 and then divide the 6, and your v is equal to 5 over 6. Second question. On the right hand side, let's combine everything that we can. So we take the two binomials and multiply them. So we FOIL them. We take the 2y times the y, that's your first move. Then you take the 2y times the negative 2, which is your outer move, which is negative 4y. And then you do the inner move, negative 3 times y, which is negative 3y. And then you take the negative 3 times negative 2, which is positive 6. And there's your FOIL, first, outer, inner, and last. So you get that middle term in there. The negative 4y minus 3y will combine to be your middle term. The right hand side still stays the same. We combine the y's to get negative 7y in the middle. And then on the right hand side, what we'll do is we'll take everything that's on the right hand side and move it over. And then we get 2y squared plus 5y minus 12, and all of that equals 0. So now we have a quadratic function equal to 0. There are several ways we can solve this. See if you can remember what they are. Good. If you said factoring was one of them, that's correct. Or you could use the quadratic formula, or the least favorite and most tedious is the completion by square. So here we'll factor 2y will break up into 2y times y, or 2y squared will break up into 2y and y. The negative 12 will break up into 4, positive 4, times minus 3. And you're like, where does that come from? Well, our factoring techniques. 2 will factor into 1 times 2, which is your a term. The negative 12 could be 2 times 6, or 3 times 4, or it could be 1 times 12, but I already know that 1 and 2 will combine with 3 and 4 to give us the positive 5 in the middle. And then from here, we need to find out how this gets to be 0. So we set each one equal to 0. And then we solve from there. Plus your 3 divided by 2. Y could be 3 over 2. Or on the right-hand side, y plus 4 equals 0, subtract your 4, and y is equal to negative 4. And there are your two answers for this question there. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video.